World War II began not with a single shot, but with the slow unraveling of peace. The scars left from the First World War still ran deep across Europe, as nations struggled with economic collapse and political instability. Out of the ashes rose movements of nationalism and revenge, feeding on fear and despair. Adolf Hitler's rise to power in Germany was not an accident of history, it was a consequence of desperation, propaganda, and the belief that one nation could restore its pride through domination. In 1939, the world once again stood on the brink of chaos. On September 1st, Germany invaded Poland using a strategy called Blitzkrieg, or Lightning War, a devastating combination of speed, armor, and air power. Within weeks, Poland fell, and Britain and France declared war on Germany. The spark had become an inferno. Across the continent, Hitler's armies advanced relentlessly, sweeping through Denmark, Norway, Belgium, the Netherlands, and finally France. By mid-1940, Nazi flags flew over much of Western Europe, and the world held its breath. Across the English Channel, Britain stood alone. In the summer of 1940, the skies above London became the battleground of the Battle of Britain. German bombers roared through the clouds, dropping destruction upon cities and civilians. But British pilots, outnumbered and outgunned, fought fiercely in defense of their homeland. Winston Churchill's defiant words, "We shall never surrender," became a rallying cry that echoed across the free world. While Europe burned, another empire watched from the east. Japan, driven by a hunger for resources and expansion, sought dominance in Asia and the Pacific. In 1937, it invaded China, unleashing brutality on a massive scale. By 1941, tensions between Japan and the United States had reached a breaking point. On December 7, Japanese aircraft struck the American naval base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Battleships sank, flames erupted, and over 2,400 Americans were killed in a single morning. The attack drew the United States fully into the war, transforming it from a regional conflict into a global struggle. In response, America declared war on Japan, and soon after, Germany and Italy declared war on the United States. The world was now divided between the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan, and the Allies, led by Britain, the Soviet Union, China, and the United States. Factories across America roared to life, producing weapons, ships, and planes in unprecedented numbers. Ordinary men and women became soldiers, nurses, and workers, united by duty and sacrifice. By 1942, the Axis seemed unstoppable. Germany's armies marched deep into the Soviet Union, capturing vast territories and besieging cities like Leningrad and Stalingrad. In North Africa, German General Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, outmaneuvered Allied forces. In the Pacific, Japan claimed territory after territory, from the Philippines to Singapore. But history was about to turn. The first cracks in the Axis momentum appeared in 1942. At the Battle of Midway in June, U.S. Navy pilots sank 4 Japanese aircraft carriers, shifting the balance of power in the Pacific. It was a turning point, proving that Japan could be defeated. In North Africa, the Allies regrouped, and under the command of General Bernard Montgomery, they defeated Rommel's forces at El Alamein. The long road to liberation had begun. In the Soviet Union, the Battle of Stalingrad raged from the summer of 1942 to the winter of 1943. It was one of the bloodiest battles in human history. The city became a symbol of resistance, as Soviet soldiers and civilians fought street by street against the German invaders. When the German Sixth Army was finally surrounded and forced to surrender, the myth of Nazi invincibility was shattered. The Soviets began pushing westward, reclaiming their homeland inch by inch. By 1943, the Allies carried the war into Italy. After toppling Mussolini's fascist regime, they faced fierce resistance from German forces entrenched in the mountains. Meanwhile, plans were being laid for the greatest military invasion in history, Operation Overlord. On June 6, 1944, D-Day, Allied forces landed on the beaches of Normandy, France. More than 150,000 soldiers crossed the English Channel under heavy fire, storming ashore to open a new front in Western Europe. The cost was immense, but the victory marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. Paris was liberated in August, and by late 1944, Allied troops were advancing toward Germany itself. But Hitler was not finished. In December 1944, he launched one final desperate counterattack through the Ardennes Forest, the Battle of the Bulge. American forces were caught off guard but held their ground amid snow, mud, and bitter cold. The victory came at a terrible cost, but it crushed Germany's last hope for turning the tide. Meanwhile, the Pacific War entered its most brutal phase. Island by island, Allied forces fought their way toward Japan. Battles at Iwo Jima and Okinawa showed the ferocity of Japanese resistance. Kamikaze pilots crashed their planes into ships, and civilians chose death over surrender. The human cost was staggering. American leaders faced a grim question: how many lives would be lost if Japan had to be invaded? Then came the dawn of a terrifying new weapon. On August 6, 1945, the United States dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima. 3 days later, another bomb fell on Nagasaki. The destruction was beyond imagination: tens of thousands killed instantly, cities reduced to ashes, and radiation poisoning that would haunt survivors for decades. On August 15, Japan surrendered. World War II was over. When the guns fell silent, more than 75 million lives had been lost. Cities lay in ruins. Families were broken. The Holocaust revealed horrors so vast they defied comprehension: 6 million Jews murdered, along with millions of others labeled undesirable. The war's aftermath redrew the world map and reshaped global power. The United States and the Soviet Union emerged as superpowers, locked in a new struggle, the Cold War. But amid the destruction, the world also witnessed unity and renewal. The United Nations was founded in 1945, dedicated to preventing another world conflict. Nations rebuilt their economies through cooperation and determination. In Europe, former enemies worked together to form lasting peace, eventually leading to the European Union. World War II was more than a conflict of nations; it was a test of humanity. It showed the depths of cruelty humans can reach, and the heights of courage and resilience they can achieve. Soldiers fought on beaches, in jungles, and across deserts. Civilians endured bombings, hunger, and fear, yet refused to surrender their hope. Scientists, medics, and engineers pushed the limits of human knowledge under extraordinary pressure. Artists and writers captured the pain and heroism of their age. The lessons of the war remain as vital today as they were in 1945. Tyranny thrives in silence. Division breeds destruction. Freedom requires vigilance. And peace is never accidental; it must be built, protected, and renewed by every generation. From the ashes of cities and the silence of battlefields rose a world forever changed. The war ended, but its echoes never stopped. Every memorial, every veteran's story, every faded photograph reminds us that history is not distant; it lives with us. The world we know today was born from the fire of that global struggle. As we reflect on the millions who served and sacrificed, we remember that their fight was not only for victory, but for the future, for a chance that those who came after them might live without the shadow of tyranny. Their courage gave us that chance. So the next time you see the date 1939 to 1945 written in history books, remember that those numbers hold the story of humanity at its darkest and brightest. The story of a world united by struggle, divided by ideology, and ultimately redeemed by perseverance and hope. World War II reminds us that even in the face of overwhelming destruction, humanity has the power to rebuild, to reconcile, and to rise again. If you enjoyed this historical presentation, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and let us know in the comments what other moments in history you'd like us to bring to life next. Your support helps us continue to share the stories that shaped our world.